Welcome back to Candidate Question Time for the 2022 Manchester Students' Union elections, hosted by Manchester Media Group, the UOM student media platform. I'm Georgina Sockett, a member of the news team for Fuse FM and TV. From the 28th of February until the 2nd of March, MMG are running candidate hustings for 8 full-time executive officer roles. Last night, we heard from the candidates for Union Affairs Officer, Biology, Medicine and Health Officer and the City and Community Officer candidates. The exec officers are the top tier of the union's student roles. They are full-time jobs paid £20,403 for the year to represent all students and influence their experience throughout the university and wider city. These live streams are a chance for you to meet the candidates for each role and hear them answer questions on topics suggested by Manchester students. The Wellbeing Liberation Officer is the lead on the union's liberation, diversity and equality work. This officer will advocate for student health and well-being across the union, university and wider city. Let's meet our candidates. Candy Kong and Selena Pereira. Sadly, Emma Robinson couldn't make it. To start things off, candidates will have 1 minute to give an introductory speech about themselves and their manifestos. When their time is up, I will raise my hand to indicate that they should finish at the end of their sentence. First up is Selena.
Hi everyone, I'm Selena. I'm a law and politics student and my manifesto is all about dismantling barriers to a good university and student experience, and is centered on 4 points. I want to lift economic barriers, I want to create a safer campus, I want to support and empower all students, and lastly, I want to make the university more accessible and inclusive. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Selena. Okay, Candy?
Hi everyone, I'm super excited to be here today and share my ideas with you all. To sum up my manifesto, I'd like to introduce a collaboration with UOM counselling services. We all know how underfunded mental health services are, and my goal here is to broaden the support they give to reach other students who might also benefit from other types of counselling services that they might offer. At the end of the day, we might have friends who want to learn about helping other people with mental health illnesses, and that's a key part of making sure that our students are able to make the most of their university time here. Secondly, I'd like to implement some self-care weeks. These are essentially different sessions which vary from sports, arts and crafts, sexual health talks, and many more. Whatever you recognise as self-care, I'm willing to listen to. One of my main ones to focus on in terms of policy implementation, widening participation for individuals from marginalised backgrounds. But you guys will definitely hear more about this when I come to my lives in my Instagram, which is Vote for Candy Kong 2022.
Thank you so much, Candy. Sorry, we've run out of time. Okay, now it's time for the questions. These were written based on topics submitted by the student body. You will have 1 minute to answer, after which I will raise my hand again to indicate that it is time to wrap up. Question 1. Which wellbeing and liberation issue would be your first priority if you were elected? Selena.
Hello everyone. I think the main issue I'll focus on will be economic barriers. I think students are a vulnerable group and we have students from all sort of backgrounds, and I think that it's an issue that has been often overlooked, and the impact that it has on students. You know, students shouldn't be starving, shouldn't be counting their money just to go to uni. It's pressure that is adding to them. They can't focus on their students and on their study, and it's something that will reflect not only on their university life, but also on their student life and their well-being. And it's an issue that won't allow them to take advantage of this opportunity to be at uni because they're so stressed out with having to juggle multiple jobs and having to pay their bills, and they won't have time to focus on their studies or on their student life. So I think it's definitely something that has been overlooked, and we need to focus on that first of all. Yeah.
Thank you very much, Selena. Okay, Candy?
I completely agree with you, Selena. I think it's really hard to pinpoint on one certain issue, but mental health, I think, impacts everyone in one way or another. And at the end of the day, even though all of these issues that the role itself encounters, it all overlaps, but mental health at the end of the day, whatever you're going through, it does help to be, having that support bubble. And yeah, I think that is a big issue that the university has neglected, especially with the lack of counselling services they have, and the waiting time is absolutely ridiculous. And it just really infuriates me how that's still been going on. And I really hope by taking on this role, I'll be able to support you guys further and create and listen to you guys based on what you want at the university.
Thank you. Okay, question 2. Previously, there was a Women's Officer, Wellbeing Officer, Liberation and Access Officer, and International Officer. How are you now going to allocate your time between all wellbeing issues for students to ensure all groups are represented? Candy.
That's actually a really interesting question. I think being on the exec role full stop, you are taking on all sorts, obviously primarily the role that you apply for, but at the end of the day, it all overlaps. And I think the exec team, it's called a team for a reason. Everyone has to help each other. And I think obviously time management and organization is a key skill here to have. And I believe I embody that through my experience from volunteering and working at the student union itself part-time. And it's just something that I think we can collectively work together and allocating our resources accordingly as well. We have all this support at the university and all this time and people to help us with it. And just the main thing is knowing where it should go and knowing where, where our potential lies as well is a very important element taking on this role at the Students' Union.
Thank you. Selena?
Thank you. This is a great question. Thank you. I thought about this when I was drafting my manifesto because I knew these roles disappeared and I didn't want the support to all these different groups disappeared with that as well. So when I drafted my manifesto, I included points. I made sure that all of this would be taken care of through my role. And I would make sure that my work is balancing all of these different areas. And I think if you read my manifesto points, you'll see that I'm covering all of these points, but I'm open to learn about other issues that are happening on campus and what students struggling with. And if there are pressing issues in some of these areas, in some of these roles that disappeared, I'm going to make sure that I'm on top of that and I'm addressing those issues. But I think I've got a good balance, and I think I will be able to make sure that these positions, although they disappeared as executive officer positions, they're still the important work is still happening through the Wellbeing Liberation Officer. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, question 3. Many students we spoke to raised concerns about DASS and mental health support at the university recently, for example, through the 2021 Accessibility Report. What are your thoughts on the current systems in place and your ideas for developing support for students? Selena.
Hello. Thank you for your question. This is a pressing issue for me. I've been reading a lot about this issue, and I was checking the accessibility report as well. DAS hasn't been their best helping students. There's so many students with disabilities or that struggle with their mental health that haven't received the support they need. The university hasn't been there for students. And if I were elected, I want to make sure that DAS and the counseling service and the wellbeing officers that work for the university are helping students and that they've got better training and a better understanding of what issues students go through, and also the intersectionality of backgrounds that students have, because students are not struggling just one or two issues and they're not from just one single background. You can't put all students in boxes. Students have different experiences and they struggle through different things. So I would ensure that they understand what students need and what students go through, and that they have the training to actually support us, because I don't think any student feels supported by the current DAS and counselling team and the university.
Thank you. Candy.
I completely agree with you, Selena. The waiting list, the process, the having to go to someone for help already is a big step. And for those of you who have done that before, like, pat yourselves on the back, because it is a hard thing to go through. Essentially, it is really important to be able to fund these services further. I think collaborating with the exec team, having shared ideas, will really enhance the features that we already have even more. And to be able to research into what students need is a really a top priority for us. We can't assume that students, just because they fall into one group, doesn't mean that all their needs are the same. As Selena emphasized, it is, and I think the university has a reputation of doing that, just kind of putting everyone in this umbrella group, and it's just kind of one of those, it just doesn't work anymore. And I think it's genuinely time for us to make change, improve, and have our voices heard. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much. Candidates all have the chance to do one very quick closing statement now, if there is anything you haven't had a chance to talk about. Candy?
So I guess genuinely, I know that the university has made a lot of false promises, and their reputation hasn't been the best. I can't promise you, all the best things in life and to make your student experience like 10 out of 10, but I can promise you that I will do everything in my power to make your voices heard, to listen to you guys and take action where needed. My name is Candy Kong, and please do vote for me as your Wellbeing and Liberation Officer. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Candy. Now, Selena?
Thank you. What I want to say is, as someone that has struggled immensely throughout my degree, and I've talked about it online for years now, I think there's so much work that needs to be done. And although 1 year is not a long time, I do think there are so many things that we can actually achieve in 1 year. There's so many areas that the university has been neglecting. And although my manifesto has 16 points, I think there's 16 points that can be achieved in a year. There's so many things that the university has to do, such as recognizing pronouns, such as a mandatory program on consent awareness and rape culture and sexual violence awareness. There's so many things that the university has to do to lift economic barriers and make sure that all students can actually enjoy their student and university experience, because these two things are related and you can't just focus on one or the other. They need to improve both of them. And I'll do my best to represent all of you. My commitment is to keep learning, listening to your concerns, and representing you the best I can. So please vote for me, Selena, for your Wellbeing and Liberation Officer.
Thank you very much, Selena. Thank you all for taking part today. You can find the full candidate manifestos and the ones for other roles at manchesterstudentsunion.com/leadmcr. Coming up later is the candidate question time for the Science and Engineering Officer role and then the Research Officer role. Voting opens at 10 a.m. on Monday, the 7th of March for Exec Officer elections and Associate Chair elections, with results announced live on March the 11th. Don't miss the chance to have your say.